Hello, hello. Tonight we're going to discuss the most interesting recent immigration news with me, attorney Alena Shautsova. And we're going to be talking specifically about new immigration fees. New immigration fees installed by the big beautiful bill. And what's up with them, right? Because there were many questions starting July 4th as to who's going to pay those fees, how they need to be paid, how much the fees are going to be. And today I'm going to provide you with verified updates. So, welcome to my show. Please like and share it. If this is your first time, welcome. My name is Alena Shautsova. I'm a licensed immigration attorney from New York. I use my social media to share the news with you, share my tips, thoughts on various situations in immigration. And of course, I also answer you guys' questions live. So please let me know where you're watching from. Say hello. Don't forget to send me your stars, the hearts if you're watching me on TikTok, and likes on YouTube. And let's go. All right, so big beautiful bill passed. President Trump signed it into law, and then there was a time of uncertainty. We really did not know how these new fees are going to be implemented because, frankly speaking, this big beautiful bill is not clear. It wasn't clear. And we were waiting a little bit. There was some confusion, especially in immigration courts, because apparently the bill just stated that these are the new fees. But for a while, for almost like 2.5, 3 weeks, there was no way to pay those fees. And we were not sure how much those fees are going to be. But finally, we received clarifications from Executive Office of Immigration Review courts what the fees are going to be. And frankly speaking, those are shocking things that we received. Basically, the way the courts read the big beautiful bill is that in courts, the fees for many different applications are going to double. So because there is this word there, or two words, in addition to any other fees installed, these are the fees that are going to be. Are they construed, they understood the new fees to be in addition to the fees that already exist within the USCIS system. You guys may be aware that in the United States, our immigration systems consist of USCIS, among other things, and EOIR or immigration courts. You file your application with USCIS usually if you're not in court, not in removal proceedings. And if you are in removal proceedings, certain applications you will have to file with immigration court, right? So what happens here is that you now, after this big beautiful bill, will have to pay different government fees for the same type of applications depending on where you're filing your things. If you are in USCIS, it's going to be cheaper. All right. Bottom line is going to be cheaper in USCIS because if you're in immigration court, for example, you'll have to pay for adjustment of status form I-485 in addition to $1,440 that you pay with USCIS, you would have to pay $1,500 more. So the application in court will become almost $3,000. For a waiver, you'll have to pay double. It's going to be $2,100. For cancellation or removal, you're going to have to pay $1,500. For appeal, it's going to be $900 in immigration court. So in the immigration court is going to be more expensive. And here on my YouTube and Facebook, I'm displaying these new fees. But what's happening with USCIS? Well, certain fees will have to be paid in USCIS as well, new fees, specifically the fee for asylum applicants. According to the big beautiful bill, if you're filing for asylum now, you'll have to pay $100 application fee. Well, you're going to make a check to US Department of Homeland Security in the amount of $100. But in addition to that, for every applicant who filed the application after October 1st, 2024, you guys will have to pay $100 fee for each year your asylum application is pending. Okay? How are you going to be paying that? Well, the government stated in this announcement that I'm displaying again on my YouTube and Facebook that they're going to tell you how to pay it. They're going to send you a notice. Don't you worry. They're going to tell you how to pay this fee. It seems that it will be paid electronically. And then on that anniversary every year, if your asylum application is pending, you'll have to pay another $100. It's true for those who are in court or in USCIS system waiting for your guys' asylum. Okay, so this is what the fees are. All right, different fees, very high fees in courts. You will have to pay this asylum fee now, regardless where you're at in court or with USCIS. And I guess if you don't pay, your application will be dismissed. All right, so you better find the money and make sure you're not gonna miss that notice. And if notice comes to you by mail, it means that you better check on that mail and make sure that your address is updated with USCIS. And now, guys, I'll be answering your questions live. Let's see if we have some questions. We have some other news, of course. We have little updates with regard to cases that were dismissed, that apparently not only administratively closed cases the government is trying to reopen. They're trying to reopen dismissed cases, which is crazy. All right. Well, they were dismissed without prejudice, but still kind of crazy if you ask me. Of course, there is new information about data sharing, that now Medicaid is sharing data with ICE. Well, everything was pointing in that direction, anyways. And of course, very interestingly, do you recall that in Florida they had a new law saying that if you are undocumented or whatever, if you're documented too, if you are going to a hospital, you'll have to leave information about your immigration status. So, guess what they're going to do with this information now? So, it's really, really crazy. I'm going to tell you. They're going to collect this information. Why? Because under the big, beautiful bill, again, they stated that most immigrants, even legal immigrants, they do not qualify for any benefits anymore and for Medicaid. So that's how they're going to be identifying people who should not be using the, um, federal benefits. Yeah. So that's what's going on with that. So let me see. Hi, Gingermere. Hi, Sunny Town. Let me see what's happening, guys. What questions you have? Hi, Gingermere. What tests do medical exam include? I said no to tobacco or alcohol. I'm not really good with that medical test. If you are talking about the test for green card, it's really not that elaborate. You can review the form I-693. I mean, they are going to check you for drugs or if you are habitual alcoholic. Why? Because if you do have problem with alcohol, you're inadmissible to the United States. All right. So they ask you this question, like, do you have any problems with alcohol? And for the drugs, they do give you the drug test. That's true. So just most people probably not going to have any issues with that. But if you have been using certain recreational substances and they were legal and they are legal in your state, make sure to consult with an attorney. All right, because now we have a very different change in power, and they again started basically prosecuting people for something that was illegal on a state level. Just keep that in mind. All right. Hi, guys from TikTok. Thank you very much for your heart. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for sharing this stream and helping my channel grow. Let's see what questions you have today. Let's see. We're answering today immigration questions. I have asylum green card. Can I apply for my home country passport? No. Mr. Singh, do not apply for any of your home country's documents, please. All right, please don't do this. Why? The government at any moment may turn around and say that you lied to them. Even if you make an innocent mistake or you need a document for travel, just try to avoid it, please. Don't apply for it. File for refugee travel document. I know it takes a long time, but you do not want to jeopardize your citizenship. All right? Just keep that in mind. Hi, Nigel. What time to get the green card and travel documents from asylum? Well, technically, as soon as you get asylum, you can file for a green card. But I typically recommend to wait for at least 6 months. Why? Because under the regulations installed by the Biden administration that have not been changed by Trump's administration, you will have to accumulate 1 year of physical presence in the United States prior to the green card being issued to you. All right. So, in case the government is going to process your application very fast, which may happen, you do not want to waste that time and fees potentially. So just keep that in mind. So I would say wait for at least 6 to 8 months after you receive your green card, asylum, and then file for the green card. And travel document you can file for now. It's up to you. All right. Hi, Shar. Do you think it is okay to apply for I-130 with my husband? He might be in expedited removal. He might be in expedited removal. If he has an expedited removal order, um, you can file for I-130, but he may be detained at the interview. You need to know that. All right. So I would say that you consult with an attorney prior to doing anything. Okay. He had negative fear interview. All right, so he isn't expedited removal proceedings. If you're in expedited removal proceedings, you cannot adjust status. You can only apply for asylum, withholding of removal, CAT. What is DV visa lottery? Can I file while on asylum pending case? DV visa lottery is a program in the United States that allows nationals of certain countries for free participate in the lottery, and if you are selected, you will get a green card, provided that you are admissible. However, if you are in the United States in asylum pending status, you cannot use that win in order to adjust status. It's not possible. You will have to leave the United States and file for the immigrant visa from overseas and come back. There are a lot of risks involved with that, especially there is an interesting rule saying that a person who wins DV lottery has to apply for the immigrant visa in the country where they're from. But guess what? You cannot return to the country because you filed for asylum. All right. In certain situations, a person may be able to get around it. Let's say the consulate of the United States is closed in your home country, but there are not so many, situations like that. All right. So typically you can play, but you will not be able to benefit in the United States and you have to do it overseas. All right. All right. Let's see what other questions we have here. Thank you guys for inviting others. Is I-730 included in the travel ban? No, they're not. The declaration about the travel ban explicitly stated that it would not concern asylees and refugees derivatives. Okay. How can I make a service request to get my green card from asylum? Well, if you filed for something and you're waiting for the government to process it, right now they're processing those cases very slowly. So I don't think the service request is going to help much. Unfortunately, it's a matter of policy. They are not going to honor it. You just need to understand that. How long does it take for I-131 VAWA case? Oh, the government stopped issuing those after the big scandal with fraud that happened in the Bronx, I believe. They stopped giving you travel documents if you previously did not have a lawful entry to the United States. You just need to know that, okay? They're not processing them. Is there any effect on the T non-immigrant visa? Any effect of what? Big beautiful bill? No. Can I apply for a fiancé visa? Well, if you have a fiancé, of course you can. Do you have a job? I have a job, but I don't offer any jobs to anybody. I'm not an employment agency. I'm just an immigration attorney. Okay. I'm a US citizen. My mom has a visa, tourist visa. If she comes here and applies for a green card, how long will it take? Hi, no parking. The thing is this, if you know that your mom would like to file for a green card in the United States, she should not be using that tourist visa to enter the United States because that may be considered fraud, okay? And she will be forever inadmissible, forever without ability to receive a green card in the United States unless she qualifies for the waiver. But let's say a parent comes to the United States to visit their child who is a US citizen above 21 years old, and then their circumstances change. Situation in the country changes or personal circumstances change. Then the person may file for the green card, and it may take a year usually since filing to receive the green card, provided again that the government is not going to accuse them of fraud. Okay. If your child has a disability and she's a US citizen, can she file for a green card for her parents? Yes, they can file, provided that other conditions are met. Is there any effect on teen on immigrant visa under this administration? Oh, that's what you meant, under this administration. No, not really. I haven't seen any negative effect yet. I cannot say that I've seen anything negative. We actually just had a very interesting situation where we screened the person for a T visa. The person was here for has been here for a very long time, for like 2 decades, and the person definitely qualified. And we reached out to New York. There is like a Justice Department, New York division that deals with human rights violations, human trafficking, and they certified the case for us in like a week, and we were able to submit that T visa very, very fast. But it's not needed for every case, and it's not required actually. But the point is that administration changed, but the local offices are very helpful still. And I didn't see any negative news about T visa on behalf of this administration. So I hope that they're not going to take it away or do anything like that. Okay. All right. Let's take some questions from YouTube and Facebook. Thank you very much, Peace on Earth. Can you be mandatory detained for crime involving moral turpitude committed before 1996 and also got a waiver to 126 for it? I think if you got a waiver for that crime, they should not be detaining you, okay? I don't think they should be detaining you. I think you should be absolutely fine. Hi, Winchester Dumel. Good evening, I'm Winchester. I have TPS status. What can I do to change status? I've been following you for a while. All right, so for everybody who has a TPS status, the first thing that you guys have to do, you have to get travel document based on TPS, travel out of the United States and come back. For most people, it will be very feasible and very possible. Why is it important? Because TPS that you receive in the United States and TPS that you receive at the border somehow would be different. I don't know why. Don't ask me. That's what happened as a result of litigation after litigation. So once you're admitted in that TPS at the border, now you're legal, okay? And unless you have an order of removal against you, now you can adjust status based on employer's petition, for example. So it's very, very interesting how it works. I do not know if it's a good option for you, if how long your TPS is going to last, because a lot of countries were set to expire their TPS. This government tries to to terminate the TPS, but you have to check if it's a good option for you. All right. If not, well, if your TPS status is going to be expiring soon, perhaps you can consider asylum. Depends on your situation. Maybe a family member can sponsor you. I do not know, right? Things like that. U visa, T visa. So we usually sit down and see deferred action sometimes. All right, deferred action sometimes work too, right? Thank you guys very much for your inspiring words. Hi, Rodnell. What do you think about the TPS for Haiti? Well, the TPS for Haiti is now set to expire, I believe, in February of 2026, as I predicted. Just like maybe a month ago, I had a consultation with a client, and the client was telling me, Alena, the TPS is going to end in August, September. I said, no, I think it's gonna last for a little bit longer. Oh, you're the most optimistic lawyer. Well, I'm not only optimistic, I know how the law works. Okay, so we discuss it with other lawyers. Basically, what happens is that there are rules on when the TPS and how the termination of TPS has to be announced. And when the government doesn't do it exactly the way it's supposed to, then the TPS is going to be extended for another 6 months, and that's what happened. Plus, there is litigation going on, so it's not so easy to terminate TPS right then and there. All right, what's gonna happen with it eventually? I don't think Haiti, in any shape or form, to accept people back. From what I hear from clients, the situation with crime there is horrible, right? You can't buy bread. Basically, you can be like hurt by bad people for $2 in your pocket. So I just don't see how people are going to be going back there. And from what I understand, the devastation from natural disasters have not been repaired. So I just do not know how they can justify that conditions in Haiti got improved so much that people should go back. Hi, Tai. If you have a case for 4 years, if you get asylum granted and you apply for a green card right after, how long would it take? Or how long does it take to get asylum green card? Well, usually it would take no longer than 6 to maybe 14 months. But currently, the government is processing those types of cases very slowly, so I won't be able to even give you any estimate. Okay. All right. Hi, Justin. I just did an info pass appointment at USCIS 30 days ago after a judge granted me green card with 212H waiver. Congratulations. How long before USCIS mailed the green card after that appointment? I did get my stamp. I do not know. They should do it within 30 to 45 days, but will they do it? I really do not know. I'll be honest. You may have to follow up with them. Okay? Yeah. Sometimes they don't really, you know, do what they're supposed to. Hi, peace and nurse. Did you get an N400 approved for a person with a deportable crime but waiver granted? Yes, we did. We did. We had a case like that, and there was no issues, and the person is a citizen now. And I think they got sworn in, if I'm not mistaken, before or after this administration takeover. But it was this year, that's for sure, that they got sworn in. Yeah. I think it was once this administration took over already, because they first had one date, but then there was like a holiday announced, some kind of day off, and the oath ceremony was postponed a little bit. Yeah, yeah, that's what happened. I go to my green card interview on 26 Trail Plaza, at 26 Trail Plaza. I'm wondering, how long does it take to get a decision? It all depends. Honestly, it all depends. There are some cases that get stuck. Why? Because the government now uh, would do very long background check. Okay, so the background check takes a long time. I would say usually it takes a month to 2 months, but I'm not going to be surprised if it's going to take much longer. It depends, I guess, the basis of your application and how long you've been residing in the United States. Okay, so the longer it is, the more extensive background checks are going to be. All right. All right. Hi, Kids Hot. How long is ED taking to process with adjustment of status through green card mom? Been waiting since January. Well, it's not that long. Trust me, not that long at all. But typically, it should be much faster, like 3, 4 months usually. Okay. Hi, MG Solo. Can you get out of removal procedure if you believe it was done erroneously? I sent them exactly what they asked for. They denied me. I appealed and they denied the appeal and outbound in removal. Okay, so I feel what happened here is that you think that the system is not just and they did not listen to you. Very well, it could happen. But the mechanism that is out there, you seem to to have used it, right? You went through immigration court and they denied you, then you appealed and they denied you. Now you have only one other option would be usually one other option would be petition for review unless somehow you qualify for motion to reopen based on, let's say, changed country conditions if you filed for asylum, right, or something like that. But sometimes it happens that you feel that There was no justice there. All right. Let's see what other questions we have. How long time to process J1 visa? J1 visa is usually you file for it overseas. It doesn't take that long because you work with different organizations, right? Thank you very much, guys, for your gift. And it depends, I guess, on the country. If there is a backlog for the interviews, but typically with a J1 visa, you have a good sponsor authorized by the Department of State, and depending on how you filed for it, you shouldn't be facing too much of a delay. All right. All right. Hi, Sam, marriage in America. Do I have to bring a divorce certificate if it was before coming? Um, Maybe your question is about your previous marriage in your home country. And do you need to show the divorce certificate for that marriage? Absolutely, yes. If you're filing for a green card based on marriage in the United States, you have to show that you're free to marry, meaning that you divorced from all previous spouses, not from the last spouse only, but if you've been married previously, from all previous ones as well. It's very important, okay? Submitted VAWA in February of 2023, submitted residency in September 2024. He's a citizen. How long for approval for both? Well, I hope you're going to get an approval. If you submitted in 2023 and the person was a resident, I think they should be considering your case about now. All right. And once they do, then there will be a second step, which is adjustment of status. Once they do that, adjustment of status may take some time, up to 2 years. All right, up to 2 years. Let's see. Hi, Alejandro. Good evening. I'm not in the court system. What to do? Oh, don't worry, they're going to place you in the court system. People who arrived through southern border and were issued sometimes parole documents, sometimes not. They filed for asylum with USCIS, but were not finding themselves in the court system. Now they started to receive notices that the asylum cases are being dismissed from USCIS system and submitted to EOIR. So you don't need to do much. You're going to appear there. Don't worry. Okay. Hi, Lama. I filed for I-73 for my husband and son last year in March. Still didn't get it. How long does it take? That's a little bit long. Make sure that you didn't miss any USCIS notices, please. Because we literally did not have a single I-730. We would have to wait for over a year for the decision. Sometimes people don't get, somehow they miss requests for more evidence and they think that nothing is happening, but in fact, USCIS send them a notice, they missed it, and then that's what's happening. So just keep it in mind. All right, you have to check if your case is doing well. All right. All right, let's see. I'm gonna go to the very end, guys. We do have a lot. I'm sorry if I missed you missed your question. Hi, Abby. Do I need to disclose expired preliminary protective order on I-485? Does it ask you for a protective order? What does it ask you for? You have to read your questions very carefully. It asks you if you were ever charged, convicted, arrested, committed a crime for which you were not arrested. So make sure that you read those questions carefully and provide accurate answers. Okay? And I would say that work with an attorney, please, because those questions are very tricky. Also, do a self FBI background check prior to submitting your I-485. It's very important. Okay? Very important. Okay. Submitted VAWA, right? We discussed that timeline. Yeah. Right. Let's see if you guys have more questions. TikTok is a little bit interesting because you have to scroll down and everything to find your questions. How to get the FBI background check? Well, that's very easy. You don't have to go to FBI for it. I'm going to tell you that. You're going to go to one of those middlemen. For example, printscan.com. I like this company, printscan.com. They have little locations all over the United States. You go to their website, you punch in your zip code, and you choose what you want, and then they're going to give you an appointment, and then you just wait for your results after you give them your prints and pay a little fee. Okay. Hi, Monique. How long does it take for a petition for a minor child that was filed by a US citizen step parent within the United States? It was filed last August 2024. I would say that they should be considering it now. Petitions by immediate relatives, because in this situation, the kid will be considered immediate relative, is going to take no more than a year, provided that the parent's case was approved. Okay? Parent's case was approved. That child's parent's case. All right. Hi, Sid. Why it was easy to receive the TPS, but it would be difficult to receive the work permit? I guess you should file them together. It's not really difficult. It's just time consuming. All right. Hi, Berenjik. How would the fee work for ED applying next month, 150 days up? You'll have to pay for the filing fee. That's what they say. You will have to pay the work permit fee, $550, even for your first work permit if you filed for asylum. No longer free work permits, unfortunately. Yep. Yep. Hi, Felicia. If you have asylum interview coming up next year, 2026, can I still go ahead and submit my VAWA application because I just got out of an abusive marriage? Yes, you can. Of course, you can. This is not. These two are not, interfering with each other. So absolutely, you can and you should. The rule of thumb, you file for as many reliefs as you qualify for, because if you don't, then you're going to waive them eventually. So make sure that you do so. Okay. If my TV approved, will admissibility of ground be waived? I'm not sure what it means. Give me some more information so I can decipher this message, okay? Hi, Angel. How long does K1 visa take? I filed in May this year, or it's going to take longer than a couple of months. It takes minimum 6 to 9 months, okay? Definitely more than 2, all right? How did you know you wanted to practice immigration? Oh, interesting, Nicola Brown James. Well, I started working with refugees back in my home country, which was in like 2000, 2002. I worked on a special project there, and I, I was just familiar with that area of law on the international level. And then when I went to law school here, this law school specialized on international law. It's actually, I think it's number one program in the United States for international law. My university is called Case Western Reserve University. And then I happened to intern with the United Nations. It was an NGO, non-for-profit organization within the United Nations. So just kind of like, I was transitioning through this area of international humanitarian, I guess, human rights law, and that's how it happened. Yeah, that's what it was. All right. Thank you guys very much for your gifts. Let's see, Francesca, what your question is. Starting up a live show centered around women. Would love to have you as a guest sometime. Hey, listen, that's amazing. Send me an email, please, so we can coordinate it. Office office@shautsova.com. Very easy to find me, office@shautsova.com, and absolutely, why not, right? We're going to discuss various issues and see how we can help the public. Literally, like, I don't get anything from this lives unless I find clients, but trust me, they take so much time that it's more like a service more than anything else. So I like to point you guys in the right direction, to educate you on different issues, just see how you should think about your immigration problem, right? Because very often people really, they're confused. They have like this wrong understanding of what they need to do. You always have to take into consideration the climate you're in, depending on what you can do for your immigration case. It's also very, very important, right? Sometimes people underestimate their requests, or they don't understand the consequences of the request, and it hurts them in the long run, and you need to be aware of that. Okay. Hi Felicia, I'll call your office tomorrow morning. Please, what's the right time to call? Yeah, sure, guys. So my phone number is 917-885-2261. I have different secretaries who pick up the phone, paralegals who help you out, and they will find time to, if you'd like to have a consultation with me, on my calendar when we can meet, because I am booked, I think, through August 13 right now. So they will have to see what is the earliest time depending on the mode of the consultation and the urgency. If you do have a very urgent matter, I can take you for a consultation a little bit earlier, because I can push things around and stuff like this. I'm trying to help you out as much as I can, but if you can wait, it's most likely going to be after August 13th. Okay. Hi, Nasreen. Can someone apply for an EB3 visa after coming to America on a visitor's visa? Can an employer file for them? Yes. But will they be able to use it in the United States once they entered on a visitor's visa? No. Why? Well, because EB3, Immigrant Employment Visa for Unskilled Workers, has a priority date. It means that you cannot use it at the same time when you file that I-140 petition for adjustment of status purposes. There is a gap in time. And when there is a gap in time, you have to show that you are in lawful non-immigrant status throughout your whole stay in the United States. If a person who entered on a B1, B2 visa changes their status to something flexible like F1, or maybe somehow, in theory, even though it's probably not possible, but let's say speculate, H1B, right? Then, once their priority date is current on that I-140 EB3 petition, they will be able to use it in the United States. But if not, they will just not be able to use it in the United States. That's what it is. So most likely not. Most likely not. All right. Hi, Loy. What's request for additional evidence was sent? It means that there is an error fee on your case. It means that the government requests more evidence to prove this or that point, or sometimes it's something very simple, like send a copy with a translation of your birth certificate, right? And you have to reply to it, or your case stops. Like, they will not process the case further until and unless you give them what they're asking for. Okay. Hi, Hamza. If they approve my T visa, will admissibility of the ground be waived? Certain grounds of inadmissibility in connection with application for T visa or status are waived automatically, and some are not. For some, you will have to apply for a waiver. The government is going to tell you if you will need a waiver. Okay? That's what happens. All right, guys, let me take one more question tonight. Let's see. Let's see. What the question is. Sometimes it's not so easy to find them, guys, because of the way they're popping up and then they disappear. Mhm. Somebody is asking me, can you answer my question, please? I'm trying to find your question, but I just don't see it for some reason. Not sure where the question went. Maybe you put something in it that it got blocked. I do have, like now I think everywhere there is this AI thing. It's not mine, it's from the platforms that may hide your question if they consider it to be like inappropriate or something else. And I'm not saying that your question was that. I just cannot see it for some reason. I'm sorry. I don't know why. I don't know. I just don't see it yet. I can't see your question. All right. All right. Let's see. I'm going to take a question from TikTok people. Hi. I came to the United States with a B1 visa and applied for asylum. Or you will apply for asylum next month. I have first interview. Is it safe? Safe in what way? Well, when you're going to have the first interview with asylum officer, they will determine whether or not to grant you asylum claim or refer you to court for removal proceedings. If by the time of the interview, your B1 B2 status already expires. Okay, that's what's going to happen. Is it safe? Will you be arrested? Maybe that's the question. Typically, they will not arrest you because you entered legally. All right. Typically, I have not had any cases where a person in your position would be arrested. I do not know if it's true nationwide, but I don't think so. I don't think they arrest people who entered with a visa. They did say they will be arresting everybody who was threatened, who entered without the visa, placing them in expedited removal proceedings, which is incorrect. But that's what they're saying right now. I anticipate there will be a lawsuit to stop this madness. But for now, this is what's going on. This was the announcement. All right. They're going to expand again the expedited removal way of dealing with people. But the good thing is this, well, there is a good thing in this, is that you can still prevail if you're going to pass that reasonable fear interview or credible fear interview, depending on your circumstances. So you do have like a little chance of winning your case, even though it's very hard. So if you entered without inspection and you filed for something and you're being called for an interview, make sure that you go with an attorney. Make sure that you're prepared for various outcomes. Of course, you hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. Why you need a lawyer? So at least they have copies of your documents. Because one question that everybody's asking me, if something happens, can you get me out? Well, I can try to get you out if I have your documents, but if I don't have your documents, how will I get you out? Right? I have a client, for example, who came to me back in November or December. He came in and then he disappeared. And we followed up with him a couple times, and then he disappeared. And he was in a vulnerable situation because he already had an order of removal against him. But he does have an opportunity for a U visa. But to file for the U visa, you need to have a U visa certification. So I said, hey, listen, let's try to get that certification and file for that U visa. So based on that, later we're going to ask guys not to deport you. Person disappears. Guess what call I received today? A call from the jail. Okay, I'll try to do my best, but I don't have the documents. And because the person is single and they don't have anybody to help them, like the person is out of state and I don't have a key to the apartment, how will I get those documents? Right? So keep that in mind. You want to have somebody responsible in your family, in your circle, within your friends, who will have access to documents that you need, medical records, perhaps sometimes, depending on your circumstances, police reports, your files, right? Things like that to arrange for everything if you don't have an attorney lined up. So just keep that in mind. Common sense. It's not really, something you need lawyers for to understand, right? All right. Last question for sure. I put never cited, but I had a court for minor traffic violation. Will it affect my green card interview? Listen, don't worry about it. Little green card, little like things like that usually don't. But if you're super worried about that, just get the printout of your DMV records showing that you paid all your fines, you're not guilty of anything anymore, and just say, listen, I'm just anxious about this answer. I wasn't sure how to answer it. Here's what I have for this DMV stuff. Usually, minor traffic encounters problems, totally not a problem, okay? And again, take a lawyer with you if you're super paranoid. And I understand why you would be paranoid. If you read the news, it's not good. But frankly speaking, little things still not an issue, which is great. Still, we have some good news. Well, guys, thank you very much for your time today. Thank you for following. Thank you for sharing this stream. Please follow my social media so we will connect again. I hope you find this little updates helpful in me answering questions. I apologize if I missed your question. I will try to get to you next time. Okay? If you're going to join. You also can find a lot of free information on my website, shautsova.com, and on my YouTube channel, of course, TikTok as well, where I post little videos explaining different immigration trends, sharing news, and I hope to see you soon.